very important to know yourself. If you feel like you can't stay awake to drive the whole shift, you pull over, you take a nap, you go to sleep. All right, guys, it's your boy Cayenne. I'm back again with another video. Today we're going to focus on what happens after you pass orientation at CRST, and what happens after you meet your trainer who's going to train you on how to drive and just how to get a hold of how to be a truck driver. So it's real simple, guys. After I passed orientation, I went ahead and the CRST booked me a rental, a car, to drive from Texas to Maryland. In Maryland, I met my trainer. I met him, and we immediately got on the road. Like I drove from Maryland to, I think I drove to Boston or somewhere like that. Boston, I believe. I drove to Boston, and I drove the very first, all 4 days. The very first 4 days it was me solo driving while he was there watching me. And that's how they do it across the whole CRST training program. Well, training is 45 days. You will be training for 45 days. I don't know if you get to go home. I was able to go home in a 2-week span after starting because my trainer, he's from Florida. So we had a load from, it was somewhere up north, and we had to drive all the way to Miami. So we drove to Miami, dropped off the load, and then we were able to take a little break because I lived in Florida, and so did my trainer. So we took a quick break. It was like 4 days, and then after that we headed back on the road. So the very first I think the first 4 days you have to drive. The new driver has to drive because the trainer has to see if this person is capable enough to handle the truck by themselves. So they'll be up with you the whole night while you drive, and then after 4 days is when one person sleeps and one drives, and then they do like a rotation roll where one sleeps, one drives, one sleeps, one drives. So let's talk about how long you'll drive first. So each person, you should know that there's a 14-hour work clock that you have. 10 hours of that work clock can be spent driving the truck. The other 4 are spent doing your pre-trip, post-trip. If you have to check in with a guard to drop off a load, to pick up a load, like those are all things that count as your shift, but those aren't you driving, so that doesn't count as your driving hours, right? So I began to drive the very first day. I drove for 6 hours the most, and after that I drove for 8 hours again, 10. We kind of varied a little bit, but that was our first week, so he wanted to see if I could handle it. It's very important to know yourself. If you feel like you can't stay awake to drive the whole shift, you pull over, you take a nap, you go to sleep, you call it a night. You feel me? I'm used to driving. I was already driving a lot before I started doing trucking. I drove for Instacart, Amazon Flex. I had a job dropping off like pharmaceuticals for patients. So I drove before I became a truck driver. Kind of a reason why I chose to become a truck driver. I was already driving. Why not drive a bigger vehicle, So that's the only tip I have. Oh yeah, next tip is if you guys want to stay awake, always have some fruits available. You got to drink water, hydrate. It does help you stay awake. Drink water, electrolytes, like, I don't know, you want to also have like little snacks available. Oranges naturally keep you awake. Fruits, maybe have something to chew on, like cough drops or something that will keep your mouth busy, because if your mouth is moving, then you're not sleeping, In my experiences now, in my very first 4 days on the road, drove through Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and those states had a lot of mountains. Now listen, I'm from Florida. Florida is flat like a pancake. Ain't no hills, no mountain, no nothing, just the beach and sand and limestone. You get me? So driving through those states was kind of troubling for me. I have no experience driving in a mountain, you feel me? So luckily I have a trainer that's already experienced in this field, and that's why CRST is known for having a good training program, because they're training me for 45 days with a pro. So my trainer, he was able to tell me how to gauge my speed, control my speed going up the hill, then control my speed going down the hill, because it does pick up speed when you're going down that hill, and it can pick up speed very fast. So he just taught me how to control that speed, so I'm not going up too slow and then going down too fast. Because if you go down too fast, you know, it's kind of hard to handle the truck. But if you climb up the hill too slow, then you're gonna already be slowing down because of how steep you're going up. So the first few days it was kind of rough for me, but towards the end I did learn how to control and keep my speed constant. So I went up almost the same speed I went down with, you know. So that was a very good thing to learn there. What else? Yeah, we drove through those states. They had a lot of mountains, you know, a lot of views, you know. So pay attention to the road, guys. Don't be looking like you're on a, like, this is not a road trip, you guys. So focus on the road. Focus on the speed limit. The truck does get harder to handle the faster you go. So just keep the speed at a speed that you can handle. You don't have to go the speed limit. You can go a little bit below. I went a little bit below just to be comfortable first until I was able to handle it at the speed limit. And I was going up and down the hills around curves, so it was a lot of turning for me in those states. Then we went to New York. New York was pretty much the same thing. For some reason, I never thought New York would have mountains and hills. They definitely do. They definitely do. So be careful. It's like pretty much the same thing that I did in Pennsylvania, I did in New York. But by the time I got to New York, I already had better handling skills of the truck. All right, guys, live footage. We're at the truck stop right now. This is my first day tonight driving, and basically we're just gonna go ahead and back this guy's car up. He wants me to save a spot for him, so I'm saving it right here. And then when he gets in, I'm gonna like try to guide him the best I can. I told him it's my first day, so I really have no experience. But you know, he helped my train over here. He asked me to help him, so I'm just trying the best I can, you know. So here he is right now coming in. All right, guys, only my third day out here.
Yeah. It's only my third day out here. I don't know.
Oh yeah, she's a beaut. It's a beaut. Oh yeah, she's a beauty, all right.
The clearance here is 13.9. That's the lowest.
Oh yeah, what a beaut. It's a beaut. It's a giant slingshot.
What is this?
A slingshot.
What do they call this?
A bridge? A bridge?